7 steps to recognize the delusion, and 5 steps to remove. Or we can say that how the realization takes place after removing the delusion. We have understood delusion uh, is moha. Moha in Sanskrit is a major obstacle in the spiritual path that prevents seekers from realizing the true self. But be very clear. I'm not talking of that spiritual journey which is mystical, that you do not understand, you need to believe. The spiritual path simply means how can I experience the presence beyond the physical and the mental. So there is some presence which is nothing but the consciousness. That I mean by the spiritual path. I don't mean by the spiritual path, come to me, I will bless you, and then you will have a lot of vibrations in the body and in the mind. No, I'm not talking of that spirituality. Another way to understand, when you remove the delusion, which is a major obstacle in the spiritual path, that means the spiritual path means the aspiration. I live into that consciousness by which the mind think, speak, act in permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, wisdom, where in personal, professional, social, family life. What that means? That means an end of suffering. So you are constantly living into that presence. So from today, I have changed the title because the major cause of the delusion is ignorance. So now we understand how to move from ignorance to wisdom. From where the delusion arises? From ignorance. What is that ignorance? It is the ignorance of my true nature. What is my essential nature that cannot be changed, that remain constant? So I am not aware of it. So when I'm not aware, then what happens? The mind picks up the changing nature, and then it causes what it causes. Do you remember? The emotional dependence, the intellectual paralysis, and fantasy, seeing reality falsely. These are all kinds of delusion. You wake up in the morning, did you had some anxiety and distress? That is also a delusion. Come on, you did nothing for 7 or 8 hours and you woke up, and then early in the morning, you wake up in anxiety and stress and duality and a conflict. That is obviously a delusion. See that? Delusion steps from, so Master says, we will talk in detail, but I'm just giving a brief idea, and I discussed about this. The delusion arises by the play of the 3 gunas. It is known as the sattvic guna, rajasic guna, tamasic guna. So tamasic is like inertia, darkness and negativity dominate. When the rajasic overtakes, it is hyperactivity, a sense of anxiety, and the sattvic guna leads to the stillness, serenity in the mind. So all the 3 gunas are constantly playing with us all the time. So in a way, to remove the delusion means that I allow the sattvic guna to dominate. What it means, I want the knowledge of the reality should dominate my mind. What it means, delusion is gone. Is it so simple? Yes. Answer is it is so simple. Provided you are a seeker, then it is so simple. Delusion brings needless suffering and problems into my daily life. Needless. It is not required. Under its influence, people react painfully and harmfully. So if I'm reacting painfully and harmfully, what happens? It impacts my relationship, it impacts my personal life, it impacts my social life, it impacts my family life. And if we all are seekers, the seeker has to become aware of what is going on in the mind. Is the mind thinking, speaking, and acting out of the delusion or out of the knowledge? Out of the knowledge of the real self, you are a spiritual guy. You need not to join any cult, dogma, belief. That is the beauty of understanding the Eastern wisdom as we are progressing higher and higher. It also, delusion also causes the clinging to the false identities and the egos. It prevents you the self-realization. That is why we have chosen this topic from this text. Delusion tenaciously sticks to the mind. And that is why you have to listen to the teacher so that it goes to the mind to understand the very nature of the delusion. That is why all the teachers, in the Eastern wisdom, they talk and talk and talk with the different expressions. So that maybe one expression hits your mind and you say, yes, this is it. I got it. So what we do in talking, teacher inspires you to do the self-inquiry, not others' inquiry. How bad is one? How worst is the other? No. What is happening in my mind? Whether I'm thinking, speaking, and acting out of the ego, out of the delusion, out of intellectual paralysis, out of emotional dependence, and then I get a fit of this delusion. And then I start claiming that I am suffering. Self-inquiry means that I am now going to be aware of the delusion, how it disturbs my mind's purity. Can I tell you something little more? So when you are doing a self-inquiry, you are observing the would-be reaction wisely, and you hold it. Did you get it? You are observing the would-be reaction. What it means? Oh, that guy is crazy. And now that guy is already in front of you and you are ready to react. So would-be reaction. That is the journey of the self-inquiry, and you are ready to hold it because you have recognized. Observe, you are able to observe, you get the capacity to observe the would-be reaction wisely without getting involved. That is the movement of ignorance to wisdom. See the tricks of the ego. It is the trick of the ego. You see the tricks of the ego and you refuse the identifying with them. And then you get, oh, this is what it is. I got rid of it. So in my head, I define the delusion. I recognize the delusion. I recognize the false perception, illusion, and intellectual confusion that obscures my self-awareness. Well, that's another way. So I recognize the delusion. First, I define the delusion, then I recognize the delusion. When I recognize the delusion, when I'm frustrated, when I blame others instead of looking inward, I need, look at this. This is what this master has written the text in that form, the verses. Then I see the cause after recognizing the delusion. I want to see the cause of it. The delusion arises from dullness, inertia, overriding the mind. Delusion arises by reaction, moment. And now, the self inquiry is continuing. You see that? Now I know the effects of this delusion. We already know what is going to happen. Delusion breeds further ignorance in the suffering. Lao Tse, you're aware of the Lao Tse, the great master. Being deeply loved gives you strength. Loving deeply gives you courage. I love myself so deeply. I don't want to be into anxiety because of you, because of outer situation. Lao Tse said, uh, being deeply loved gives you strength. Loving deeply gives you courage. So that courage is you are getting rid of the intellectual paralysis. Then you realize the stakes. Where is going to happen? I keep the thought of the blame and the reaction in my mind. Two women have stopped talking to me, and I'm really sorry. And there is no problem from my side. They both created the problem for themselves. And they are still thinking in their own way. So I have to realize the stakes. It prevents awakening. It feeds itself and causes the emotional dependence. I'm explaining the same concept in a different way. So when I don't realize the stakes, oh, today I will talk to you and I will fight with you. Mind is constantly thinking this, and I fought with you. I don't realize the stakes. So not only I harm myself, I harm others. That is the moment of the delusion. I told you, I'm just on a spree to, my lease is going to expire, the car lease. So there are two dealers. And the car that I want to lease, they both quoted me a difference of $7,000. Can you imagine? 7,000. I have a written, printed form. Now, should I fight with the guy who quoted $7,000 more? Or my wisdom says that is the way the world works. Thank you, God. You made me aware of this fact. I should go a little deeper. I should go to the third dealer to find out. I need not to worry about anyone. I need not to react against, I need not to go and fight. It's a very simple approach. What happens? What is this state? When I said, let me go to the third dealer, it means that my mind is turning inward. It is not moving out. Practical, I'm telling you. This is what it means. The mind is turning inward. You are living into that state of the self-awareness. And that is going to help you to drop the delusion. Can I summarize all the previous points? You inquire skillfully. So how do you inquire it skillfully? I'm into anxiety. Let me ask, what weaknesses causes this anxiety? I'm reacting. I'm going to react to it. What weaknesses causes this reaction? What weaknesses causes me to speak a lie? I must ask this question. To whom? Not to the dealers, to myself. To myself, then mind becomes clear. To expose the tricks of the mind. Why we are asking this question? That is the genuine self-inquiry. Our great master, the young master who lived only until the age of 37 years, who visited USA, Swami Vivekananda. Take a risk in your life. If you win, you can lead it. You can lead. If you lose, you can guide. He lived only for 37 years. I understood much after that is. Take a risk in your life means I am challenging my weaknesses. If you can lead, if you win, you can lead. If you lose, you can guide. Relationship with your honey, relationship with your parents, relationship with your kids. That is the journey. Look at the way, the wisdom, how it works, how it will help you. If you stay in the journey, if you leave the journey, it will be wiped out again by the same delusion. If you don't stay in the journey, you keep observing inner states objectively. And that is how we connect to the highest consciousness. That is what the spiritual consciousness is. Another way, 5W and 1H. Always keep it handy with you to get rid of the delusion. 5Ws, you already know it, and 1H, how? What, where, when, all the 5Ws. What? Delusion? What is the delusion? Oh, delusion is that I don't see the reality. Because I don't see the reality, that is why I have a confusion. That is why I have an anxiety. That is why I'm reacting. Instantly you become aware. Why? It prevents me from seeing the truth, the reality that leads to the suffering, worries, affliction. Where? Delusion manifests in all areas of the life. You are alone, you wake up in the morning, you are in delusion. You talk to your honey, there may be a delusion. You talk to your kids, maybe a delusion. You go to the market, there may be a delusion. When delusion arises when tamasic and the rajasic guna dominates in my mind. If you are feeling dull, get rid of the dullness. Otherwise, the delusion will take over you. You are becoming lazy. Today, I will not attend the session. Do not attend the session, but remain aware. I'm not pushing you. You need not to. But maintain that awareness. Get rid of that laziness. Don't give excuses to the laziness. I am never lazy catching a flight, but I'm always lazy attending the session. That's good. That's a part of, we have a liberty to be lazy, to fall into the delusion. The mind, mind is totally aware, fresh. Then see what happens. When delusion arises, when the quality means tamoguna, inertia in the mind, and the hyperactivity in the mind dominates. How? They have some statement in the mind. How? Delusion makes one blame others when frustrated instead of looking inward. It causes attachment to false ideas, like thinking you need certain things to be happy. It causes attachment. And what is the attachment? I want so many things or 5 things to be happy. It is a hyperactivity of the mind. Delusion feeds on itself. It feeds on itself. For instance, out of the greed, one follows the wealth through unethical means, fears getting caught, worries about loss of status. So it is feeding itself, constantly feeding itself. What is the remedy? Developing self-awareness and self-inquiry. There is, we have already covered the conventional methods to purify the mind in the previous text. So here what we are doing, we say that self-inquiry is the best method to get rid of the delusion and the ignorance. It is the best method. Question is, am I the best person? What it means, am I the seeker? Perhaps I told you that when women told me, Jerry knows, she sent an email that, which is the strongest mantra? So that I can get rid of my anxiety. And I sent an email responding that every mantra is strong to a person who is stronger. If I'm a weak person, what the strong mantra will do? And here the weak person means I'm a non-seeker. That is why I'm searching which is the best mantra so that I get an instant result. Self-inquiry is not an instant method. It is a continuing the journey, rising in awareness and realizing different layers of the delusion and the ignorance so that we can bypass all of them and we can reach to that state of the consciousness which we normally say it is the spiritual. It can be experienced here and now. So when we do the self-inquiry, that is the method we have been talking about. Do you remember the 7 steps plus 5 steps? If you remember, it's part of the self-inquiry. So this counters the delusion over time by exposing the tricks of the mind. And when it exposes the tricks of the mind, I'm able to separate myself from these false self-perceptions. Now I'm able to separate. Where? Inside my head. So you are the stronger seeker or the higher level of a seeker, and the thought came that, oh, the guy in front of me is crazy and I have to react. Because you're a higher level of a seeker, you get rid of mind. I realize your tricks. You have different expectations. That's why you are ready to react. Calm down. Finished. You're done. You live into that state of the consciousness here and now. So the self-reflection continuously, whenever, wherever is required, has to be done. It's a pragmatic approach, purely a pragmatic approach. It's not philosophical. No, philosophical, we say it's a theoretical, so let me practice meditation. I did not understand anything, any of these talks, and now I'm doing a meditation. So the meditation will also have a dominance of delusion. It will not affect you. Are you getting it? I'm trying to make it clear. How come when we say the spiritual journey, the spiritual path, we are seeking permanent happiness, we are seeking love? Where? You know the answer. We are seeking happiness where? Location. You know it. But the mind is still looking outside. Domination of Rajasic and the Tamasic Guna. We see that. Very simple way. Delusion, not seeing clearly ourselves in the reality, is a major obstacle that causes suffering and prevents awakening. It's a pragmatic approach. It's not philosophical. It focuses on transforming our attitude by realizing a mental state free from the delusion. That is where we start living into the peace and happiness. You need not to chase the peace. The peace should follow you, absence of delusion. You chase the peace and happiness, presence of a delusion. I'm trying to express in a different way so that it goes into your head and it settles in. You chase peace and happiness, delusion. Peace and the happiness follows you. Buddha. I'm translating one of the principles of the Buddha by this statement. When the peace and happiness follows you, absence of delusion. Simple way. Indications. So when I am chasing peace and happiness, ignorance and wrong perception perpetuate themselves and results in suffering. We must consciously rectify. How? By self-inquiry. To break this self-defeating cycle. Self-defeating cycle. My friends, remember this. So Buddha, I remember the Buddha, it popped up into mind, delusion, false perception and belief that obscure the reality. Another form of a delusion is viparya. Viparya in Sanskrit can be translated as cognitive error. Whereas you are a human being, but I say that you are crazy. It's a cognitive error. Okay? And I'm attached to you, so I love you so much, where you have been. That is also a cognitive error. So don't think that when I only say that you are crazy, that is a cognitive error. Viparya. I'm searching because of the attachment, I'm searching the love outside. That is another word where Buddha used in another klesha, the afflictions. Afflictions means that I feel disturbed. I feel I'm awfully busy. I'm reacting. No. I feel lazy. The last point you have to contemplate and reflect before we do the next session. Delusion manifests in predictable ways. If I am a seeker, then I know it. What I know? The delusion manifests in predictable ways. Can you give an example? Friction with others, anxiousness, sense of attachment, avoidance of responsibility. They manifest in a predictable ways only for a seeker, not for a non-seeker. So when I note these reactions, by discernment, non-judgmentally, and inquire. These impressions will dissolve completely. These impressions will dissolve completely. We'll continue our journey from this basic principles again. Please close your eyes. Let us start our practice. I'm giving a step by step so that you understand clearly. It settles into your mind, and then what happens? Close your eyes. Now, stage one. In the stage one, it is purely a passive state. We'll continue our journey from this understanding. Delusion manifest predictably. So, my friends, eyes are closed, being comfortable, being comfortable. So, check the position of the body. Let us raise our level of awareness. Check the position of the body and also the location, the place where the body is sitting. Eyes are closed, and then maintain your awareness and you see how fast you are settled. I'm using the word how fast you are settled. And your mind said, I'm already settled. Go ahead. You're a higher seeker. Are you struggling with your body, breath, mind, position, factors outside it, maybe a noise, temperature? What that means, the mind is still outside. Rajasic guna. That level of awareness is required, my friends, to go deeper. And then being comfortable and carefree. Being comfortable, check sensation, comfort, and steadiness is there. And comfort and steadiness is there. Your hands is not moving to the different parts and scratching. It means the mind is still outside. So that it fails you in the beginning. When you succeed in the awakening, then you move, then you can jump around and you can be in the meditation. But not in the beginning. I'm just making you aware. I'm not blaming. And then mental awareness means carefree thought, feeling arise in the mind. I am aware. Mind is an instrument. I'm not the mind. So mind and its contents are different and separate from me. And then I don't lose the awareness. I remember Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. You emotionalize. No, I get emotional because if you know, you get emotional because of the mantra. The message therein. That will deliver you from the delusion. May there be happiness for all. It's your choice which any explanation that you remember, you can think of it. That is the way to reflect. Happiness is my essential nature. I don't know, I'm discovering it. Same way, the happiness is the essential nature of everyone. So if someone is crazy or quoted $7,000 more because of, and we are laughing. We don't get upset, but we are aware. Sarvesham, Sarvesham, Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. May there be peace for all. Sorry. May there be peace. Peace that lives without break, uninterrupted in the mind, manifesting from the spiritual or the highest consciousness or the real self. So mind is changing the direction. That's why it is not, that is why it falls into delusion. And that is what I explain in the entire talk today, that how the mind prevents us to see the reality. Otherwise, peace is always there. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Do you still recall any of the explanations that I gave in this journey? Any explanation? Sense of incompleteness gives me the idea that the mind is chasing peace and happiness outside. Why it is chasing outside? Because I feel the hollowness and the emptiness within. Oh, yes. So when you are thinking, reflecting in the mantra in this way, even if the mind is running outside, it will stop. It will see the red light. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be auspiciousness for all. Means grace and the blessing is always there. Again, I'm explaining. I have to change the mental thinking. Thank you. You now I realize you quoted me $7,000. Maybe your car is not being sold. That is why. That is your nature. So that is the default nature of the deluded mind. So what should I do? I will not go to that. Finished. That is not my cup of tea. So I live into that state of calmness. Where is our normal tendency? Blame, complain, reaction, criticize. That is delusion. Just, the new year is going to begin, but I want to start early. I physical level, become aware of the physical entity. What do you mean by physical? That is perceived by sense organs, senses, sense perception, body. But when you experience the feeling, thought, emotions, it is the subtler level. It is not the physical, it is the subtler. And that subtler level is the mind. And what is the third level is the spiritual level. That is what we are exploring. So maintain that awareness. I'll remind you again and again. Now is the time to look inside the forehead in the space. Drop Om Shanti there, stillness in the body, Om Shanti, gently, and start breathing. Gentle breath into the rib cage. Maybe 40 and 45 breaths a minute into the rib cage. That happens normally, even if you're doing it. Find out there is a total expansion of all the waves during inhalation and the total contraction of all the waves during exhalation. It may be a gentle breathing into the rib cage, but you are paying more attention to the total expansion of the rib cage and the total contraction of the rib cage. By the way, COVID is returning again, so these breathing practices will definitely help you. Do you remember the endurance David pointed out in the last session? I endured it, and the objection of the mind dissolves. To continue doing it. You're expanding all the waves during inhalation and contraction during exhalation. Om Shanti continues and the stillness continues. If the laziness comes, do not allow the laziness to come. In the laziness, we seem to stop breathing because we get carried away by the mind somewhere. No, you need not to stop. Continue. You have to endure it. Why? Purifying the mind. How? We have noticed the resistance, and I get rid of that resistance by enduring it. I'm purifying it. From where the resistance comes because of the delusion. You may have the different experiences and you are enduring it, you recognize it. If you do not endure, your body moves in a different way. Your hand moves, you start stretching the body. We need that pinpointed awareness to explore the third level. There are only three levels: the physical level, the mental level, and the spiritual level. So we take the energy and the endurance from that spiritual consciousness. We don't listen to the mind. No scratching, please. And allow the breath to be normal. Stop this kind of a breath and just check how the breath returns to the normal. Pay attention to the flow of the breath and experience the changes taking place and also experience the withdrawal of the mind, turning inward. I discussed about that. Do you see that what you understand in a talk, normally I pick up those points to discuss with you. And sometimes what happens, I keep on moving my body and I don't notice it. In a deeper delusion, I don't notice. Notice Ashok, again scratching. Don't feel bad, I will point you out. You are aware of the breath, paying attention there, and you experience a different state of the consciousness. And then gradually we will understand whether this state of the consciousness has to do with the spiritual consciousness or it is still the mind. That's a long journey. And now looking inside again, the forehead in the space, Om Shanti, stillness in the body. And start the belly, breathing. Belly, breathing. When the mind is deluded, your body will start moving right, left, up and down. Your mind will start scratching the different parts of the body. The mind will try to make you fall into unconscious sleep, and it will use the thought process. No, it's too difficult. And I have told you, any resistance, endure it. Just remembering, no, I have to endure it. Oh, I have new experiences. I'm waiting for the new one. We are gradually, step by step, increasing our level of seeking. So we enter into the higher level of seeking. We become a higher seeker. Please continue, my friends. It's a little longer breath. Maybe a hissing sound is there. You expand your belly fully. So I point you out metaphorically. When you inhale, you expand your lower and the upper, right and the left side of the belly. Did you understand? When you exhale, right, left, up and the down belly goes inside. So just pay attention to, and then you translate that into the step in the practice. And stop this breathing. Allow the breath to be normal. Pay attention to the flow of the breath. And if they are equal, wonderful. If they are not, whichever has the less flow, keep your awareness and attention there to see that both their flow becomes equal. Now, this is a very subtler level. Anything that is subtler, we need a higher level of awareness. And when any teacher says turning inward, the mind turning inward, it is not moving inside the body. It is a rise in awareness. Rise in awareness. I'm explaining clearly. Third level. Physical, subtle is the mind in third level. You can experience that is where. But before that, we experience the sensation, relaxation, and stillness, physical level. Inside, calmness and quietness are the traits of the mind. Because when we say quietness, with reference to the thought and the entire content of the mind, and then the third level. Maybe you have some indication, vision, and then we look at the 16 segments of your fingers, Om Shanti. So now what I said, you are living within in the state of the calmness and quietness. There you are dropping Om Shanti on the 16 segments mentally. So your mind continues to live within. That is the purpose. So you've already understood the sensation, relaxation, and stillness, calmness and quietness, rise in awareness. It's a mental, a subtle level. And there you are dropping Om Shanti on 16 segments. That, do you see, that is the reason I said, I have been saying that it is the mind's eye, ear, tongue, and touch. They both are working within the mind. When you are able to hold the mind in that state, hold the mind in that state for a longer period, you can have the understanding of the third level. Third level has no cause, it is the ultimate cause. So, no cause, so no change. No change, so beyond time, beyond space, and long distance. Well, continue the journey, we'll understand this. Now leave this, go for the triangle in the cave of your heart. Equilateral triangle of any color, pointing Shanti on each side of a triangle, clockwise, anti-clockwise. and you see there is a harmony or a sync. What does it mean by the harmony? Three sides of the triangle, you're dropping Om Shanti, you maintain that awareness, three-pointed awareness. And when you see there is a harmony or the sync, then you can, by saying Om mentally, move the mind deep inside your heart. Shanti. Mind seemingly stops. You say Shanti. You are self absorbed. Conscious self absorption. There is a perfect cognition of that state. Who is cognizing? Mind. Oh, the mind is cognizing the higher state. Yes. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. How are you, Stephen?
Good, thank you, sir. Um, always a great lesson. what I was thinking about during the lesson is the importance of recognizing and understanding, again, peace and happiness and truth, wisdom all live within ourselves. And if that's where it is, which it's acknowledged, then it's important of self-inquiry and self-awareness, because everything else is outside, and that has absolutely nothing to do with everything that needs to be inside. So it's up to me to constantly um, go through this self-inquiry and the self-awareness to hammer the delusion, so that peace and happiness will always be prevalent.
Yes, you are perfectly right, Stephen. There is no proxy. We cannot use the practice. Someone can get rid of the delusion of my mind. Not at all possible. Including, even if the Buddha comes to you and he says, I will remove your delusion, don't believe it. There is no proxy. So that is what you said, that so with all humility, I'm saying, I'm not disrespecting any master. So no proxy is available. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, lesson was really excellent. To Stephen's point, the practice for me was very interesting, because after the breathing, I felt my eyes physically turning inside my head. And most of the meditation after that, I was in this state that I've never been at before, because I physically felt looking inside. So a wonderful experience.
Beautiful way to put it. That is what will happen. Even it might be happening to majority of you, and you are not noticing it. So when you become aware that not only your eyes, as if it is turning inward, even the faculty of the smell, faculty of the sound is also turning inward. And that is a wonderful experience. Beautiful. Thank you. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, the ignorance and the delusion are always kind of lingering if we're not working on our minds. So just that heightened awareness. And for me, the application is just remembering and focusing on, if I'm seeing it outside, which it's always changing outside, so there's always that out there. And if I'm hoping that something's going to change in a direction, then that's my delusion. And I need to let it go. I need to be indifferent and disregard what is changing and what is not changing, and just be carefree.
Yeah. The entire world is changing. That is what you said. But one thing, that very I, minus body and the mind, do not change. And that I is the spiritual consciousness. But I see that I am also changing because the world is changing, is a great delusion. That is the way I can put it again. Beautiful. Thank you, Jerry. How are you, Dennis?
Thank you. You mentioned in the session that we have a liberty to fall into delusion, and my mind instantly thinks that we are so lucky that we also have a liberty to recognize and avoid that delusion.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And as far as the meditation, deep, very calm, very quiet, and fully aware.
Fully aware. Beautiful. Yeah, you explained in the differently what I said, that I chase peace and happiness. I'm in delusion. Peace and happiness follows me. I'm in wisdom. Beautiful. Thank you, Dennis. How are you, Christina? Then I'll come to you. I forgot. Yeah.
I felt today a slow progression from doing and into being. And the words that you describe, the peace, you're not chasing it, it's there. I could really feel into that and completely separate from my body thoughts.
Beautiful. Yes, we gradually will progress into that as we share our experiences, that we are completely separate from the body and the mind, what it is. And through the practices and through understanding in the future lessons, we will understand. If I say I'm totally separate from the body and the mind, what is that? What is this I? We'll pick up everything. How are you, Terry?
I felt a lot of my anxiety drop, and I
Good.
understood that, the idea about there being no prophecy, that was kind of hitting home, and that you have to become cognizant of what your mind is doing.
Yeah.
And oh, I don't know what the other thing was. At the end, I think, did you say or did you not say that even at a, let me think, what was it?
I said everything. What comes to no problem.
Oh, well, that the mind is still there even at the spiritual level, but it's just a matter of what we're doing with it or what it's doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Car is still there, either into garage or you are driving. Mind is an instrument. Did you get it?
So we're going to be using it for quite a long time.
Yeah. So we have to use the mind, not in delusion, in wisdom. That is the way the spiritual journey is.
Yeah.
I'm making it simple. Beautiful. That is another way to understand it. How are you, Barbara? Unmute, please. Unmute, please. Unmute, please. Barbara, unmute. I don't hear you. Don't hear you. Yes. Yes. Unmute. I don't hear you. You see, sometimes it seems that I'm excited, but no, sometimes you have to get the things done. Yes, now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Bye-bye.
I was saying that the meditation was very peaceful and calm, and I just wanted to stay in that state. But I have a question for you, and that is, if you wake up in the morning in a state of anxiety, and you are in delusion, yes, because your essential nature is peace, but could that anxiety have been enhanced by something that you dreamt the night before?
Not only that you dreamed night before, but there is a compartment in the mind. In Eastern wisdom, we say there is a reservoir of these impressions. Anything, at present, what you are listening to me is not only recorded in your head, but my background, all the people's, their expression, everything is being recorded and they constantly multiply. So not only what we dreamed night before, but it may be an impression stored last year. They may trigger the anxiety. That is why we say purification of the mind is important. We will pick up that topic also. So beautiful. Thank you, Barbara. How are you, Ashok? It's always good to see people moving their lips but not listening to them. So,
Sorry for that. I am good, sir.
you were
And,
abusing me?
I am good.
Okay, you're good.
I am saying I am good, and mind is very peaceful. Nothing
Okay,
to worry. I'm good. Thank you.
good, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And
Namaste, everyone.
something did not listen to it. Vaibhav, how are you?
Thank you, sir. Sir, practice was good. It is bringing like an awareness that I can always have a self check that whether I'm living with this moment habitually or living with awareness. I can always check on this thing.
Yeah.
And whenever I see that I'm habitual about this moment, I can recognize this and see how can I live with this awareness. So that
That is
awareness
self-inquiry.
is coming.
Yeah, that is your right, self-inquiry. The beauty of this journey of the Eastern wisdom is that when I say that we have more than 3,000 texts, more than 10,000 teachers, or if I remember, almost I have found out more than 3,000 teachers. And every teacher, the way they have explained, includes all the experiences you have been sharing. They have not left anything. That is the beauty. And one of them you have just shared. So, how are you, Sangeeta?
सर बहुत अच्छा था और सर बॉडीलेसनेस फील हो रही थी कि बॉडी है ही नहीं जैसे
Yeah,
तो
as
बहुत
Christina was
रिलैक्स
saying, separate from the body. Now find out. You see, you give a different expression. Christina was saying that I'm totally separate from the body. Sangeeta is saying a state of bodilessness. You see, masters have given interpretation of each and every aspect to reach to that spiritual consciousness. That is what we are going to explore. That is all for today. Thank you very much. We will meet again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.